retweeted this. You're not a martyr or a victim, just an attention whore, making a mockery of legit social movements from before. You're literally crying wolf while kids out there are getting disowned for being gay. So don't claim discrimination, cause you know damn well it's not the same. In fact, I take back what I said. Who knows where we would be today, or what other crap these coddle kids would come.
Brief forward. If you were waiting for a shouting match, sadly, once again, cooler heads have prevailed. This was going to be the picture for this video, a more lighthearted comical picture done by Catstar, but it's not done yet. So instead I went with this wonderful piece by Lilac Galaxy. It is completed. At the time of this video, I'm no longer personally upset with Lightning Bliss, and I'd like to state the story given here shows what happens when the right people come together and tackle a problem together. Additionally, I and members of the secret modding staff, including artists such as Luximus, Sapphire Heartsong, and Welcome Dragon, so far have taken a look at Vita Pony's video, The Pony Files Lightning Bliss. I encourage any of the artists who watch me to take a look at Vita's video and weigh in down below. Thank you. Well, after watching this one. Alright kids, it's FNGR. And before we get to today's topic, a round of applause is in order. I've kept a close eye on Isaac's comments recently, and you guys have been killing it. I've never been more proud of my fans than I am now. But first, I'd like to address one detractor on who said that we are harassing Isaac. Allow me to read. Fluffy Feathers 24.
Isaac is taking a break from social media. He's got to consider and needs a minute to make his own decisions without being pressured from either party. He needs to make a decision, not the decision that others would have him make. I can't stop people from commenting, but keep in mind, harassing him isn't going to help the situation. If you believe in him, and you do think he's a good person, you know he'll make a decision that reflects that. Thank you for being understanding.
Firstly, recently I was told on the day that everyone else was cutting off Toon, Isaac loaned his Skype account to Toon Critic to contact the people that cut him off. Secondly, you've all for the most part have been beyond acceptable. Charles Schwinger. Look, you don't have to listen to me, or anyone else for that matter. Your choices are yours to make. All I'm willing to say is, if you want someone to talk to that isn't going to accuse you of anything, I'll be here. I didn't have anything to gain from taking advantage of you. Nevertheless, I'm quite fond of your work, and I will attempt to ask for a commission when the opportunity arises. Image Tears. Hi, Isaac. I know you had it rough recently, and I'm sorry that you have to endure this kind of thing. If you're still connected with Toon Critic, and this message is for him and for you, I'm willing to give you both comfort and to assure you that you're not completely alone. I'm very concerned for both of you, and I want to make sure you're okay. And on the road to recovery, I wish the both of you the best during this tumultuous time. Morpheus X. Dear Isaac Collar, it has come to my attention from FNGR that you're making new images for Toon Critic, of Toon Critic's new original character, the world we know. You may be in a relationship with him, however, good sir, you may become another tool in Toon's web of lies. There are many reasons why, until he's been brought to justice, Toon does not deserve anyone's forgiveness, even yours. What you're doing with Toon's new OC images would show how much value you have for him, and you're likely enabling him to start over and not learn anything from his immoral actions. Let me level with you as much as I can. I was barely in a merely similar scenario when someone came to me to draw of ideas for him. Silverwing Silvercent, as he's been known by, was a White Knight stalker and a leech. As I soon found out based on his pattern of behavior, though I did make a sample of his OC and coined him as Soul Silver for a scrapped comic I was willing to working after other art projects. But when I found out that he kept making more sock puppet accounts to avoid getting caught into trouble, I asked him, why does he keep doing this? He gave me false excuses, and my expectations of him were low, to which I was nothing to him, to which I want nothing to do with him, and so I cut ties with Silver. I'd want anyone to do the same until he repents and learns from his past actions. What you're doing is making a sinful decision of associating yourself with someone who's not learned from harming many innocents, who they have come forth to share their own stories, their own tears, their own pain, their own despair that was brought on to them by Toon Critic in association with him during his time of cowardice, and it would only paint you in a bad light and likely ruin your reputation. Isaac, actions have consequences and blessings. You're a good person, and we can only hope, wish, and see you make the right decision so that we can forgive you and that you and us, as an entire community of people, can start as new friends. Sincerely, Morpheus X. I'm proud. I can't stress this enough. And these remarks have been a long way from harassment. But the all-time best remark I ended up pinning on my last video. It put me and the rest of the videos that I've seen on this to shame. Devai Kali Tara. Find your local child advocacy center here at this link. See if they offer stewards for children or training courses on how to spot or be aware of grooming. I think I will be including this link, if not this message, from now on in future videos. God bless you, Devai Kali Tara. You are a magnificent human being, and we should all strive to follow your example. Conversely, I'd like to thank Dr. Wolf for his clarification video. I felt it wasn't absolutely necessary. However, explaining his decision and how things were going to move forward in the D&D campaign with the videos that featured Toon was just the right call to give the right message without confusion or misunderstandings.
However, with recent events, we now have to change our approach with how we present the story. These sessions were recorded months in advance, and as such we have a sizable backlog of episodes still with Toon's presence. We don't want to dismiss the pain and suffering that people still feel in regards to Toon. Continuing on with the story like nothing happened is insensitive and will cause pain that we don't want. However, this story still means a lot to us, and to a lot of fans who look forward to it every week.
And why I'm not a Dr. Wolf fan, I would encourage, but not insist, forgiving Dr. Wolf for his earlier flub. One more thing, this is Cavatini.
It's Cavatina, you dipshit!
Well, I never. She made a video explaining that she was Abby, the girl that she highlighted in Abby's story. She didn't feel comfortable telling us that the story that she had told was her own. And for what it's worth, you don't have anything to apologize for. You've given a great account of yourself, not just for the community, as an analyst, but also as a human being. I would hold you up to anyone who's lost faith in the analysis community, that we still have great people. Links down below naturally.
I hoped to save this video for after the Toon Critic fiasco, but if I keep this hidden any longer, I might cripple from it, so here it is. Hi, my name is Abby. Back when I first learned about the first victim, and when I realized I was a victim, I knew I had to make my story heard, in one way or another. But the way I chose was wrong. I didn't trust anyone to make my story and broadcast it themselves. My trust was already shattered, and I couldn't bring myself to give my story to a second source.
Now, for anyone who wanted an update on the Toon situation, we did have a mole in Toon Critic's room. that's gone. I stand behind the decision to make the appeal to Isaac because Toon Critic is broke. That man could not save $1 to save his life. Patreon has terminated his account. Good on them. The only way for Toon Critic to have gotten, or still get a new OC, lived and died with Isaac. I understand it's his choice. And if you're waiting for me to say I respect Isaac's choice to stay with someone who does what Toon does, I think you already know my answer. And yes, due to having eyes on the inside, oh yes, I know they were 2 peas in a pod. That's how I know Isaac, after getting this message, decided to use it to warn Toon. I'm sorry this isn't a happy ending. Isaac, I sure would love to be able to say we can agree to disagree, but I can't in this situation. I can understand your stance. And as cliche as it sounds, I think you can do a whole hell of a lot better. Oh, there is this remark as well. Good eye for pointing out that the new OC looks like Dr. Wolf and Silverquill's love child. Knowing Toon, I wouldn't be shocked if that wasn't a coincidence. He always was a smug, cheeky bastard. Involving the Secret Rift, Lightening, Bliss, Mad Munchkin, and this is an offshoot of the Toon Critic drama, we might go back to clarify some comments from previous videos by the end of this. This drama all started with the now infamous petition to get Toon Critic. Well, let's just read it. Recent evidence has provided showing beyond a reasonable doubt that Toon Critic is a pedophilic sexual predator. While a large majority of the community has come out against him, a smaller number of members have come out and talked about forgiving him before a week had passed. The majority of the people are those who were friends with him and stand to profit from this whole matter getting swept under the rug. Some even tried to prevent the information on Toon Critic from being made public. This is obviously unacceptable and needs to be addressed as such by the community as a whole, including the fans, the content creators, and lastly, but certainly not least, the conventions, due to how difficult it can be to influence a convention and get them to make a stand against individuals. I've gone ahead and created this petition to hopefully show them that the people who would be most likely to attend the cons and enable them to continue hosting year after year are going to tolerate the presence of pedophilic enablers and pedophilic profiteers. By signing this petition, you're making a statement that you refuse to go to any convention who has people in the community, guests, or panelists they attempt to cover up for pedophilic sexual deviance as a guest, aka Dr. Wolf, Silverquill, and the like. Now, in case anyone has missed the last video, I am no longer interested in pursuing this petition. You might all wonder what the hell this shit is doing here. Don't worry, we'll get there. Based off of Dr. Wolf and Josh Scorcher's latest video, up on Josh Scorcher's channel, the petition clearly says it wants to remove Silverquill and Dr. Wolf from the panels, not ban them from the convention. They would be free to buy a ticket, just like everyone else. The only people named are Dr. Wolf and Silverquill. Quickly, here are some of the parts from Mad Munchkin's Twitter. Dear Maddie, you are not mentioned by name in the petition. There is no call in the petition to get anyone banned. The term slander means to defame. Defame is to cause harm to someone's reputation by libel. Libel could mean a statement or representation that conveys an unjust, unfavorable impression. The tenements of libel and slander are simple enough. Here we go. 1. First, the plaintiff must prove the defendant made a false and defamatory statement concerning the plaintiff. So, that you understand the defendant has to prove, that would be you, objectively that the statement is false. You don't have this element. In fact, truth is an absolute defense to slander. 2. The plaintiff, that would be you, must prove the defendant made an unprivileged publication to a third party. You might be able to do that. 3. The plaintiff must prove that the publisher acted at least negligence in publishing the communication. I fail to see how Vita had a duty where he could be negligent to anyone here. But I am not a lawyer. I'd be more concerned in arguing the first element. And fourth, in some cases, the plaintiff must prove special damages. Now this is the tricky part, Maddie. Whoever was slandered, which would not be you, which, just to be clear, you would have zero standing in the United States court to file a civil lawsuit. So, as far as you're concerned, aye, Bigora, you should take your river dancing ass back to old Ireland. Not only is this not slanderous, it legally does not concern you. Your second offense is noted and humorous. Any lawyer or law student, feel free to chime in down below. One more thing, the tort, the legal action that you are looking for, is called libel. Slander is the spoken word. You can tell you're dealing with a complete dumbass when they don't even know the name of the offense that they are seeking to have prosecuted. In fact, Maddie, accusing someone of a crime that is objectively false, which is what you are doing here, a situation where it is literally impossible for you to argue where you are correct. This, Maddie, is libel. Well, at least for that one element. Luckily for you, it would fall upon Vita, and everyone else. Your report-happy fans have gotten kicked off of Twitter, which includes Melabolgia Agaris, as well as Mintheart. Mintheart, who recently had found the courage to make a public statement about the director and an accusation not all that unfamiliar to Toon critics, has had her voice silenced due to your haphazard, negligent direction. The comments section will naturally be open to you down below. Now that we have the Twitter nonsense out of the way, let's get to the Secret Rift. Now, this all got wrapped up due to the peerless efforts of the Secret Rift staff, and I had a sit-down, reasonable conversation with Lightning Bliss. The mod staff pulled us into the mod chat, and I'll be addressing all that here. I placed the petition in the Secret Rift during last week, I believe it was Tuesday, to which Tricky Fox asked me to remove it, and I removed it. I did edit one of Tricky's posts to make fun of dulcet tones, and he laughed at it, and my girlfriend laughed at that. To which Lightning Bliss acted like this.
How are you all laughing at this? Enjoying this even? What is freaking wrong with you? Tell with this then. You don't know jack buttons. None of you do, because none of you were there except maybe Kiki and Ninja.
Now, it's not that Bliss acted angrily. She is free to chew me out and yell at me. Even though there was no rule for what I did, I don't feel bad about putting it in the room. There was no intention for the link to set off Bliss, and in fact, I've since invited the modding staff to go back to see the time that I put the link in the room. If Bliss was active, she had not been for hours, so either she looked up or someone tapped her on the shoulder to do so. Neither, in fact, are my fault. I ultimately ended up leaving after Lightning Bliss's meltdown, combined with the fact that Kichi FIM left the Rift right afterwards. And I modded Sapphire Heartsong, who started screaming at me in the call, who, might I add, when Lightning Bliss screamed at my girlfriend, I took offense to the fact that she wound up kicking someone that would be a lot more easier to get away with. And I felt an extra added insult to injury of storming off before I could have a word. Once again, I and her have talked things out. There was an issue of my own personal concern that she was let back in after she had apologized to the room, after being unfriendly to myself. Now, to the modding staff, you might remember when Mintheart came into Limbo and apologized to me, and not Pristine, and everyone understood that that was dumb. Now, to Mintheart, to your credit, you eventually did go and apologize to Pristine, and everything was cool. You get a great big thumbs up. Bliss till yesterday, where cooler heads prevailed, and I guess, and this is where you could say earned forgiveness comes in. Namely because, quite frankly, of the times that I've been slighted by Bliss, I can count them all on one hand. And this being the only serious infraction. I am, after all, not some humorless dullard. Now, granted, I was salty that Bliss was allowed back in the Rift, with no fuss or muss. I had to wheel and deal for about a half a day or so, but sometimes patience is required. I wasn't 100% satisfied with the situation, but part of maintaining friendships is respecting the wishes and desires of your friends. So again, to the modding staff and Tricky, who I ultimately compared to the Looney Turtle at that time, I got carried away. But to be fair, if I was told that the issue would have been resolved in a day, I would have just shut my mouth about it. So recently, I attempted to get back into the Secret Rift, to which Tricky insisted that me being brought in would make people feel uncomfortable. We went to the Secret Rift roster and boiled that discomfort down to 3 people, 2 of which I know that the modding staff doesn't care about, and 1 that actively they wish that they could remove. Top of that, I've committed no offense other than to leave the room, something that Bliss did without penalty at that time. I'm going to say here what I said to the modding staff. If Bliss and many of her friends had returned, I understood the importance of their inclusion in such a group. Right or wrong, what the modding staff did not consider was the negative impact of including such people at this moment might have a negative effect on the room's overall image. Once again, here's the answer. For any missteps Lightning Bliss may have committed recently, here or in association with any other individual, her personal inclusion far outweighs her missteps. Now, if you want any other issues, recent or serious issues that anyone can bring to light, substantiated claims, I would encourage the staff to revisit this matter. I believe the period where a blanket upper class immunity for S-class bronies is over, if for no other reason than necessity. I'm not saying that people need to face baseless persecution, but if and when accusations are presented and there's at least a hint of seriousness, then it would be our duty as members, not just of the modding staff, to handle the situation privately, but as well as publicly. Now what you might say is, well, FNGR, this isn't helping things. So what are you saying, that we should bury it? I would think that all things considered, transparency would be the new policy from now on. And if this crew wants to go back to business as usual, that sure as fuck shouldn't be the Secret Rift policy. As you can tell, barring one meme video, that the Secret Rift hasn't put anything out in 3 months. Now I understand due to recent circumstances, the Secret Rift decided to not move forward with content that featured a certain individual instead of just putting it out. Disclaimer or not. But we have nothing on the immediate horizon. But what it had boiled down to, I had done nothing wrong, and I was out. Bliss wasn't held back for 1 month, 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour. She was put in, wham bam, thank you ma'am. We're grateful, can we shine your shoes? Now, when I started this script, I had intended to address Bliss. I was very clearly going to say, this isn't about handling the Toon Critic incident. This wasn't about handling the Toon Critic situation, this was handling the situation with my girlfriend, and I was going to say that the apology video holds up fine. There isn't anything featured in this video that isn't straightforward. There isn't anything defamatory or intentionally misleading. Additionally, due policies in the Rift, why I could stand behind my videos on Toon Critic and his actions. I'm wondering, the Secret Rift currently has the inclusion of the burning donut in the room, not only victim blamed in one of his videos as content that counted towards his monthly inclusion and remains in the Rift. Now, I'm not saying that you need to punish the donut for something that's not in the Rift rules, but don't just stand there with a finger up your nose when something like that happens. There's something called an ex post facto law. The idea is it's not right to make a new law and punish people retroactively, no matter how grievous the action is. You'll find in US law, since the early days, that this is something that was prohibited. So quite frankly, here's an idea. Institute a rule that if members of the chat do something blatantly, intentionally false, not unpopular, that's how we end up with massive cover-ups, but falsely that would reflect poorly on the room without retraction. Oddly enough, Donut did make a retraction, so there should be no punishment or suspension. Additionally, this is Quillstroke. She was removed due to practices in her commissions that the Rift chose not to be associated with, because the Secret Rift has a fine tradition of being able to point to our artists, whether they be Dog Eye Crimson, Lilac Galaxy, Brittany Ackerman, Hungry Soma, Mim Kage, Spirit Productions, Sapphire Heart Song, Ty and Diego, you get the idea. If I forgot your name, don't lynch me. That our artists in the Secret Rift were reliable and didn't have practices that would reflect poorly on the Secret Rift. Now keep in mind, this isn't retroactive history. I've purchased Bliss's work twice personally in addition to a mass Rift purchase. I have zero complaints for my purchases. But I'm not an artist. For me, it either looks good or it doesn't. Now, keep in mind, here is Draw Ponies, who was banned from conventions for accusations of tracing, and that this sort of behavior, that even EQD stopped featuring his content despite formally having their lips affixed to his ass beforehand. This is a serious matter on the horizon, with serious accusations. Once again, the source of these accusations isn't something glorious, likable, polished, or shiny. I would be foolish before hearing the statements to dismiss them out of hand. I recall when this happened about the original accusations on Bliss's art that I had spoke to 3 or 4 artists who felt that Bliss's artwork was original. They chose to have their names remain anonymously, but I will tell you this, I respect their talent as artists. This is Vita Pony. This is an individual who broke the Toon Critic scandal and will be talking at length about Lightening Bliss, presumably later this month.
Under this license, you adhere to the following terms. Number 1. You must give appropriate credit, provide a link to the license, and indicate if changes were made. You may do so in any reasonable manner, but not in any way that suggests the licensor endorses you or your use. Considering you say people who say the assets are from Double Rainbow are slandering you and have never once provided a link to the license, I think it's safe to say you're in clear violation of condition number 1. Number 2. You may not use the material for commercial purposes. Oh boy, we just hit your most major offense, didn't we? You do commissions where you clearly use Double Rainbow assets and outright charge egregious prices for them, up to $100 or more as a matter of fact. Even if the licensing was just boiled down to this one condition, Bliss would clearly be in the wrong here. But we still have one more note to hit. Number 3. If you remix, transform, or build upon the material, you must distribute your contributions under the same license as the original. Do I even need to make a point here? Everyone watching this knows exactly where I'm going with this last one. That's 3 strikes, Bliss. I'd give you credit for not applying additional restrictions, but oh, who am I kidding? With your track record being what it is so far, I'd go so far as to bet money you've done that as well.
He will have a more in-depth, detailed report on this topic. I naturally will be giving it a stern look for authenticity, and at length, it should be something that the modding staff in the Secret Rift consider if there's any valid accusations. Those should be considered for Bliss's involvement in the Rift, naturally assuming if there is any validity. Thank you.
While you all sit here making judgments against people you don't even know on a personal level, you clearly didn't listen to his video then. I choose to forgive someone so their actions no longer poison my life. That's how he said it, but you don't care, none of you do. It must be so easy for you all to judge them from the sidelines, without being there to hear what they really had to say. Doesn't matter if you all care about destroying other people's lives who weren't even directly involved. No, it doesn't matter to any of you. Go on, support the same flopper who threatened you, Buttons. The same person who threatened to dox me. The same person who told you to kill yourself. Sounds like the best idea ever. Go support the people that thrive on ruining other people's lives. I'm done here. Mods, I'm taking a break. If you want me back, I'll return, but this space I no longer feel support in.